Stories of combat deployments and military promotions are not lining up with the records of the founder of a Mid-Michigan veterans organization. It is our top story tonight at 11. Thank you for joining us. I'm Sherry Jones.
And I'm Siobhan Klepfer. The founder of a Livingston County veteran service dog organization claimed a career in the U.S. Air Force filled with deployments and tactical training.
However, an extensive 6 News investigation has uncovered records that tell a much different story.
Josh Sanchez joins us now to unpack part 1 of this report. Josh?
Sherry, Siobhan, I first met Kirk Lanham, the founder of Veteran Service Dogs organization, back in 2021. Now, while his volunteers have connected vets to critical service dogs, our investigations team found that the stories and uniforms that Lanham would wear did not line up with his service record.
Obviously, in the military, you never leave your brother behind. You always have to help, right? So, basically, we saw a need.
This is Kirk Lanham, founder of Veteran Service Dogs organization in Osceola Township in 2021. The volunteers of the organization would help connect veterans with dogs and train them both to create a bond between human and canine. Promoting the nonprofit, multiple volunteers say Lanham would appear in an Air Force uniform, with some photos obtained by 6 News showing him wearing a 1-star or 2-star general rank. He made that history public in a Hamburg Township meeting back in April 2023.
Good afternoon. My name is Brigadier General Kirk Lanham. I am 34 years on paper with the United States Air Force and 22 years of active combat. 318 deployments.
However, documents shared with the 6 News Investigates team reveal a different service history, one that lasts less than 2 years, with Lanham separating from the Air Force as an Airman Basic, or E1, an enlisted rank, not one of an officer. Edgar Jones was one of those volunteers who says his suspicions grew in recent months. Earlier this week, we showed him the 1-page service record we got from the National Personnel Record Center of the National Archives.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Jones says Lanham claims that the 2-star promotion came from meeting with the Secretary of the Navy, Carlos Del Toro.
He made a lot of claims, having to leave the country or having to meet at the Pentagon or some other location with a person he would refer to as Carlos. Turned out to be the Secretary of the Navy.
In a statement, a spokesperson for the Department of the Navy says the branch did not have any records showing Lanham was in the Navy, nor records of him meeting with senior Navy leadership. Lanham agreed to meet with us this week, but hours before our interview, he said he had to cancel because he was helping a veteran in crisis. At the organization's facility in Osceola Township, just outside of Howell, we rang the doorbell that asked us to leave a message. Walking around the facility, we noticed security cameras following us, as well as garage doors slightly open. When I tried to leave a message, here's what our team heard.
We were hoping to talk with you. I was hoping to catch up since the last time we talked was...
Property now. You have been trespassed. The police have been called.
Along with dogs barking and someone trying to keep them quiet. Our team tried to call and text Lanham and even emailed our questions, but did not hear back. Well, Sherry, Siobhan, in the military and veteran community, there's a tradition called the challenge coin, which is considered a token of friendship or a job well done. And Edgar Jones gave me his Air Force Special Operations Command coin that Lanham gave to him. And he tells us that now, after finding everything out, it's not worth the metal it's made of.
Josh, in your investigation, did you learn anything more about Lanham?
Well, we have a lot more to this investigation. That's why we have it on Wlns.com. And we also found that there was a federal conviction in Lanham's record.
What does this mean for the Veteran Service Dogs organization?
There's a lot more developing to this story, and our team is looking into that. So we'll bring those updates as soon as we get them.
Okay. Thank you, Josh. Welcome back. The founder of a Livingston County veteran service dog organization claims to have a career in the U.S. Air Force filled with deployments and tactical training. However, an extensive 6 News investigation has uncovered records that tell a much different story. Josh Sanchez joins us now to unpack part 1 of this report. Josh.
Siobhan, the first time I met Kirk Lanham, the founder of Veteran Service Dogs organization, was back in 2021. Now, while his volunteers have connected vets to critical service dogs, our investigations team found that the stories and uniforms that Lanham would wear did not line up with his service record.
Obviously, in the military, you never leave your brother behind. You always have to help, right? So, basically, we saw a need.
This is Kirk Lanham, founder of Veteran Service Dogs organization in Osceola Township in 2021. The volunteers of the organization would help connect veterans with dogs and train them both to create a bond between human and canine. Promoting the nonprofit, multiple volunteers say Lanham would appear in an Air Force uniform, with some photos obtained by 6 News showing him wearing a 1-star or 2-star general rank. He made that history public in a Hamburg Township meeting back in April 2023.
Good afternoon. My name is Brigadier General Kirk Lanham. I am 34 years on paper with the United States Air Force and 22 years of active combat, 318 deployments.
However, documents shared with the 6 News Investigates team reveal a different service history, one that lasts less than 2 years, with Lanham separating from the Air Force as an Airman Basic, or E1, an enlisted rank, not one of an officer. Edgar Jones was one of those volunteers who says his suspicions grew in recent months. Earlier this week, we showed him the 1-page service record we got from the National Personnel Record Center of the National Archives.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Jones says Lanham claims that the 2-star promotion came from meeting with the Secretary of the Navy, Carlos Del Toro.
He made a lot of claims, having to leave the country or having to meet at the Pentagon or some other location with a person he would refer to as Carlos. Turned out to be the Secretary of the Navy.
In a statement, a spokesperson for the Department of the Navy says the branch did not have any records showing Lanham was in the Navy, nor records of him meeting with senior Navy leadership. Lanham agreed to meet with us this week, but hours before our interview, he said he had to cancel because he was helping a veteran in crisis. At the organization's facility in Osceola Township, just outside of Howell, we rang the doorbell that asked us to leave a message. Walking around the facility, we noticed security cameras following us, as well as garage doors slightly open. When I tried to leave a message, here's what our team heard.
We were hoping to talk with you. I was hoping to catch up since the last time we talked was...
Property now. You have been trespassed. The police have been called.
Along with dogs barking and someone trying to keep them quiet. Our team tried to call and text Lanham and even emailed our questions, but did not hear back. Siobhan, there is a tradition in the military and veteran community called the challenge coin. Now, it's a token to recognize friendship or a job well done. Jones gave me his Air Force Special Operations Command coin that Lanham gave to him. He says now it's not worth the metal it's made of.
Who else has been impacted by Lanham's claims?
Now, our team also spoke with a nonprofit who gave money to Lanham, as well as his stepson, who was also shocked by what we uncovered. And we'll have more to their stories at 6 News at 6. And there's much more to this investigation at Wlns.com.
Have we tried to reach out to Lanham since last night?
Yes, we did this afternoon. We gave a call to his personal phone. Once we picked up, we said we wanted to talk again. And he simply said, "Have a good day," and hung up.
Okay, Josh, thank you very much for that report. Looking forward to the next part 2.
I felt betrayed and used.
Broken trust after a nonprofit leader is accused of embellishing his military record. It's our top story at 6. Thank you for joining us. I'm Siobhan Klepfer. Sherry is off tonight. Veterans and family are shocked to learn how a Livingston County nonprofit founder's service record was a far cry from what he claimed. Josh Sanchez is here for you with part 2 of this 6 News Investigates report. Josh?
Siobhan, the Veteran Service Dogs organization near Howell has connected vets with critical service dogs. Kirk Lanham is its executive director and founder. Vets, nonprofit leaders who gave VSDO grants, and his stepson tell us they are frustrated after our 6 News Investigates team found records that do not line up with Lanham's stories.
How could I have not seen it? How could I have been fooled? I mean, just a very deep, deep sense of hurt and betrayal.
Navy veteran Edgar Jones says he spent hours volunteering and supporting Veteran Service Dogs organization after the nonprofit team helped connect him with his dog, Doc. He and other volunteers say that VSDO founder Kirk Lanham would promote the nonprofit while wearing an Air Force uniform, displaying a 1- and 2-star general rank. However, service records show Lanham separated from the Air Force after less than 2 years, leaving at the rank of an Airman Basic. Jones says Lanham even gave him a token of trust, a challenge coin displaying the Air Force Special Operations Command emblem.
At this point, it's not worth what it's made out of.
This is embellishment to the highest extent and one that's pretty egregious.
Jay Kennedy is an expert in white-collar crime. 6 News Investigates team shared the findings with him. He says whether a crime was committed is up to a prosecutor and the police to decide, but the incident can be harmful.
It's that broken trust that you have violated that now makes them question everything.
Questioning everything is a feeling shared by people like Chuck Nelson with nonprofit Winter of the Beard. Nelson says the nonprofit donated a grant to Lanham in 2021.
I don't know how you can do that and under the guise of doing something good. And I know that the organization's doing great things and all the volunteers are doing great things. But to use their hard work and what they're accomplishing for your own personal gain is just sad.
Nelson says the nonprofit has taken steps to verify service history if someone claims a military background. The reality of the situation also weighs on his stepson, Nathan Buchanan. He also helped VSDO and considered many of the volunteers' family. He says he wished the man he considers a father would have been honest with him.
But to play it up so much and lie about everything and turn it into, this big spectacle, and that's just not cool.
Siobhan, since our investigation was published, we have gotten calls, emails, and messages from former volunteers sharing their concerns. A spokeswoman for Congresswoman Alyssa Slotkin's office says our report is concerning and says, quote, any embellishment of a service record is unacceptable. We also learned just before the newscast that the Attorney General's office is taking action against the nonprofit, and we'll have much more on that at 6 News at 11. Back to you.
In this update to a story we first brought you last night, we have learned the American Kennel Club has pulled the evaluator status from the creator of an Osceola Township service dog charity. It's further fallout of a 6 News investigation looking into the Air Force veterans' military record. Josh Sanchez has part 3 of this exclusive report. Josh?
Siobhan, Kirk Lanham is the founder and executive director of Veterans Service Dogs Organization. The AKC revoked Lanham's evaluator status of its Good Canine Citizen test following an investigation by 6 News into accusations that he embellished his service record. The AKC spokesperson who emailed us says the test is just for basic dog obedience. Volunteers with the Veteran Service Dogs Organization in Osceola Township have connected dozens of veterans to much-needed service dogs. However, after the 6 News inquiry into Lanham, the American Kennel Club launched a formal investigation into the Air Force veteran and revoked his evaluator status of a test he used for the dogs in his nonprofit. An AKC spokesperson said in an email to 6 News, quote, the AKC Canine Good Citizen Test and AKC Star Puppy are basic skills and manner tests that any dog can be trained for, take and pass. These tests are in no way geared towards service dogs or service dog training and should not be represented as such. Despite claims that Lanham brought in dogs who were assessed for aggressive behavior and passed, volunteers say just last year, veterans have brought back service dogs after issues like nipping and biting.
At least a half dozen for different circumstances, all showing some sort of aggression or hurting behavior, nipping.
Joanna Dresden, VSDO Director of Grant Acquisitions in 2019, shared text messages with our team between her and a person who just received a dog from Lanham's nonprofit that recently bit another veteran it was paired with. Dresden and 4 other people made a complaint to the AKC about similar incidents of aggressive behavior, but later withdrew it, fearing retaliation if Lanham were to learn their identities. I spoke with one trainer and office member who were involved with the VSDO from 2018 until late 2021. One says the quality of the nonprofit began to decline shortly after the charity moved to its second home 3 years ago.
Just everything, the training, the level of the dogs, and no matter how much I would argue for that, because we had a higher standard, it would, why don't you go take a break?
The other member says some dogs were kept in kennels overnight. At the VSDO's current location on Highland Road in Osceola Township, Lanham's stepson, Nathan Buchanan, and Jones confirmed dogs were being kept at the facility. During our investigation, we were informed Lanham had been living there too. An Osceola Township official says the location is not zoned for either purpose. Now, this afternoon, we learned the Office of the Attorney General confirms that it will be taking action against Veteran Service Dog Organization because it is not compliant with state law related to soliciting donations. Now, our team reached out to Lanham again this afternoon by phone. Now, after we asked him to talk with him about our investigation. He simply said, "Have a good day," and hung up. Now, there's much more to this investigation on WLNS.com. Siobhan.
The leader of the Veteran Service Dog organization is stepping down after accusations of embellishing his military record, which ended up being a far cry from what he claimed. It's our top story at 6. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Nate Salazar. In a story that 6 News first reported last week, the founder of a Livingston County nonprofit organization called Veteran Service Dogs is accused of wearing uniforms and claiming to be a rank that doesn't line up with his military service records. Today, founder Kirk Lanham has announced he's stepping down. It's an update to an ongoing investigation into Lanham, who started the organization back in 2021 and has connected vets with critical service dogs ever since. But according to multiple volunteers, photos obtained by 6 News, and a recorded meeting last year, Lanham had been wearing a 1-star and 2-star general rank, saying he was, quote, a brigadier general. However, documents shared with 6 News reveal a different service history, one that lasted less than 2 years, with Lanham agreeing to separate from the Air Force as an airman basic, not an officer. In the days following the investigation, the Attorney General's office confirmed it will be taking action against Veteran Service Dogs organization, and the American Kennel Club has pulled the elevator status from the nonprofit. Now, there is much more to this story that can be found on our website at WLNS.com. We will keep you updated as more is revealed.
Well, over the past few weeks or so, we've been telling you about the Veteran Service Dogs organization in Livingston County and its founder, Kirk Lanham, who promoted the organization by embellishing his rank, including claiming to be a retired brigadier general. Lanham has since stepped away from the nonprofit, but that has not put an end to its legal difficulties. As we reported last week, veterans and volunteers told 6 News as many as 8 dogs were being kept in the facility. And tonight we learned that planning officials in Osceola Township have informed the organization that operating a kennel without approval violates local zoning ordinances. The township says this is now a legal matter and will not comment any further.
With 6 News at 6.
New developments tonight on a local nonprofit after 6 News found its founder embellished his military records, setting off a series of inquiries. And it's our top story at 6. Thank you for joining us. I'm Siobhan Klepfer.
And I'm Sherry Jones. This is the latest update in our investigation. Now, earlier this month, we told you about Kirk Lanham, who embellished his military service record while being the founder, president, and executive director of the Veteran Service Dogs organization.
Karina Prieto is here for you now with new details on the status of that Livingston County charity. Karina?
Sherry, Siobhan, according to the IRS website, the Veteran Service Dog organization had its status of nonprofit revoked as of May 15th. This is a result of failing to file proper tax documents for 3 years in a row. When 6 News spoke with Lanham in July, he said he could not provide copies of his tax returns due to him being locked out of his computer systems. As a tax exemption organization, it is required by federal law to have these documents available. This development adds to a zoning investigation by Osceola Township and action from the Attorney General's office ordering the organization to comply with Michigan law. The AG's office confirmed that the organization had not registered as a nonprofit or registered to solicit donations. Both are required to run a charity and receive donations from people in Michigan. Information suggests Lanham may be keeping dogs at the facility in poor conditions, with his stepson confirming, quote, neglect or abuse happening. VSDO announced in the email that Kirk Lanham would be stepping away for, quote, the good of the organization. But 6 News has learned he is still signing documents for the organization. This investigation by our 6 News team remains ongoing, and we'll be sure to keep you updated online and on air as the story develops.
A local nonprofit no longer has a board to oversee it.
The 6 News Investigates team has been reporting on the ongoing problems at Veteran Service Dogs organization in Livingston County for 2 weeks.
The organization has come under fire and under scrutiny after a 6 News investigation revealed that the founder, executive director, and board president, Kirk Lanham, had embellished his military service and rank, among other findings.
Yesterday, we reported that the IRS had revoked the organization's tax-exempt status for failing to file tax returns for 3 consecutive years.
Now the 6 News Investigates team has learned that 3 other individuals listed in state filings as board members have resigned, leaving Lanham the only member left.
Digital reporter Todd Haywood has the story.
Blindsided.
Ann and James Donnelly had no idea the controversy around Veteran Service Dogs organization until a stranger called them.
He's like, I'm a veteran. He goes, I was going through service dog training, and he goes, now they're closed down. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I go, what?
The couple's text messages to Kirk Lanham, the board president, founder, and executive director of the organization, went unanswered for a time. But he did respond after James and his wife found the Stolen Valor series online. He told the duo not to believe everything they were reading and hearing and not to talk to the media. They joined the board in 2019 as civilians, they said, in order to help veterans. They'd met Lanham several years earlier when he was recommended to do some electrical work on James' house.
And I'm like, yeah, I'll serve on the board. And he goes, well, you don't have to do anything. We'll do a Zoom call, not a Zoom call, but a meeting, a phone meeting, but when we have to have a face-to-face, that's fine. I think there was one meeting. One meeting, phone call, that was it.
The Donnellys say they were never provided bylaws nor information related to the organization's financial state, nor were they told about 2 lawsuits filed against the organization in 53rd District Court in Howell. A third man listed as a board member in state filing says he has submitted his resignation multiple times over the last 2 years to Lanham, yet his name remains on paperwork. He resigned as both a trainer for the organization and a board member over concerns Lanham was approving aggressive dogs as service dogs. He asked not to be identified out of concern for his safety. He is concerned his name remains on state filings despite his resignation, but a spokeswoman for the Michigan Department of Licensing and Regulatory Affairs tells 6 News the 3 now resigned board members may have to seek a court order to have their names removed from state filings if Lanham doesn't comply with their resignations. Lanham did not respond to text messages seeking comments for this story. A spokesman for the Michigan Attorney General told 6 News by email the agency has begun some informal inquiries related to Lanham and the organization, but was unable to comment further. Here for you in Lansing, Todd Haywood, 6 News.
A 6 News investigation uncovered Kirk Lanham, the executive director, president, and founder of the Veteran Service Dogs organization, has misled many people and veterans about his military service record.
And today we bring you what officials have discovered when it comes to dogs in his care. Rachel Ramsey is here for you with the latest.
Yeah, Sherry, Siobhan, 6 News revealed that Lanham claimed to have been a general and a special operator for the United States Air Force, even though military records we found don't bear that out. His website claims to, quote, provide service animals to U.S. military veterans, end quote. We reported last week the group had its tax-exempt status revoked by the IRS. On August 6th, animal control officers with the Livingston County Sheriff's Department cited Lanham for possessing 11 dogs without dog licenses, which are required by Michigan law. The next day, court records show he paid $185 in fines for the violation. Officers say Lanham was also told he needed to obtain a kennel license, though Osceola Township officials tell 6 News the building is not even zoned to allow a kennel. These are the latest updates, but stay tuned on air and online as we continue to investigate the situation. Back to you.
Welcome back. We have an update for you tonight on the Livingston County man accused of embellishing his military career to run a nonprofit organization to provide service dogs to veterans.
6 News learned tonight that Kirk Lanham's lease is being terminated, and he's being investigated for a possible assault.
Lanham claimed to be a 2-star general with decades of service and is accused of misleading donors and volunteers. His military record shows he served in the Air Force for less than 2 years, leaving with the rank of Airman Basic. Lanham is also a convicted felon. 6 News learned tonight his nonprofit, Veteran Service Dogs organization, was informed last month that its lease would not be renewed. A former volunteer for the organization also filed an assault complaint against Lanham. For much more on this story, visit our website, Wlns.com.